Hey everyone, how you doing today? Thought I'd work a little bit more on this carrier and show you what's going on with it. I also wanted to cover a couple questions. Well, I asked a question of should it be human or Skaar, and I got kind of mixed ratings on that, or mixed comments. And I decided to go with Skaar in the end. It was the original intent of the ship. The only reason I brought up the question of it being human or Skaar was with the very base work done on it, it kind of looked awfully human, and I decided, well, maybe it should be human. And then I was like, nah, no, let's scarify it and let's go with the building plan and go with the original idea of it being a Skaar carrier. So what I'm doing here, it's a tricky build for sure. It's kind of slow because there's a lot of asymmetrical aspects, but it's combined with some symmetrical aspects. Like the front of the ship here is symmetrical, and I was working on a lot of stuff here. It's really kind of hard to see some of the stuff going on here, but I've got three different turret positions up in this area, and then three retractables that are going to be right over the front hangar door. And then I was kind of working on some block work for the underside of the flight deck. Um, I thought that was kind of neat. I kind of borrowed this a little bit. It's different, but similar idea to that I used on that Creel space station. Um, that I kind of like that effect. So that part's working out. And then what I started doing after that is started going down one side, but some of it, like this thruster position in this entire mount apparatus, I partially kept in symmetry when I made that on purpose, so it would perfectly line up to the other side. But obviously, it's missing a lot of blocks, but it has the positions of all this stuff. And some of this was just an error. This shouldn't be here. I'll have to delete that part of it over there. But yeah, so I'm kind of toggling between symmetry and not symmetry, and most everything you see here except for this section here is going to be unique to this side of the ship only. And then I'll have to build the other side of the ship the same way. And I just been kind of doing this in kind of a weird line printery way. So I just kind of work on one little part, kind of fill in some of the walls, and kind of move on to the next little part, and so on. And even on this one, I decided to add like a little door thing down over here on the side. The other side might get something like that too, but maybe not in the same location. We'll see how it all works out. But in the end, when this thing is parked on the ground, and I kind of intend on this carrier to be docking on the ground because of course, the big hangar and all the HV capacity that it should have, hopefully. It definitely should have. I mean, that's not really a question at this point, or shouldn't be. But yeah, and when it's parked on the ground, and right now I don't have all the thrusters in, so I can't really be flying this around. I've got like a couple thrusters installed here for lift on the front side of the creation. I'm hoping it looks like this big, almost like some kind of city. I don't know exactly what I want it to look like, but it's if you look at it from a far out perspective, it's it's following that shape of a carrier. But when you look at it close up, it's pretty crazy. It's there's a lot of things going on here, and I'm trying to go with the idea that I kind of liked with the Proxima and a lot of parts in the Klingon ship that I made too. Man, I cannot think of the name of it right now. That's bad. Memory's bad. Um, but I wanted to have some big smooth shapes mixed in with busy work, So you got like a big smooth area, and then a lot of busy work, and then it might go to another big smooth area, and then more busy work, and so on. Just try to keep that separated, but following like a blueprint of the overall shape and design of it, so it kind of stays consistent. And then, of course, doing a lot of asymmetrical stuff. I'm trying to get that to look uniform and proper across both sides, and you can get pretty crazy with asymmetrical stuff. But I wanted to keep it kind of, so it doesn't jump out at you as like that's really weird, or it just doesn't look right. It looks off, and that's something you got to really watch with asymmetrical creations too. If it starts looking really weird or off or disproportionately sized in some areas and would cause it problems with flight or maneuverability or something like that. So I'm trying to avoid that stuff and kind of mix both in together. But I figured I'd start working on this a little bit in the video here. So if you just wanted to see where I'm at with the carrier, it's kind of a slow going process. It took a while to build out all the block work going along the front and that side over there. Excuse me. And I haven't really plotted out too much more yet, but my idea now is I want it to have a really cool looking stance when it's sitting on the ground. I noticed that on some other authors' creations, and some creations just kind of hit it the way they're, when they're parked on the ground, and either how the landing gear are working or the general shape of the ship. I made note of that on some past creations that I think it has a really cool stance, and it's actually kind of important to me now. It was something I didn't even really realize until I seen ships that looked just really cool sitting on the ground like that. And I was like, hey, that looks right. That looks neat. It looks great. So what I'm thinking here, on a general broad perspective, is I got to start getting into the back side of the ship now, and I got a lot of thrusters to put on this thing too. Right now I've been pretty reluctant on putting in thrusters, but I got this idea. And the idea, well, I'm going to try it here in the video and see how this works out. So let me turn on symmetry first. I think I already got that partially set up here. So the idea I've got is to, if you kind of take a look at the side profile and take a look at all this, where the cursor is, all this area here that's not filled in yet, what I wanted to do is have a beam, maybe that comes off from somewhere around a point over here, and then it kind of angles up and goes this way across and across the bottom of the flight deck, and that's going to kind of almost leave like a wheel well or something like that. And then in that wheel well area, build like these big thruster pods that sit in there that would have, your forward thrust, some side thrust, as much thrusters as I can get in there, maybe even some lift thrust. Maybe. I'm not sure about the lift thrust. Now, the big problem I've got right now is reverse thrust. That's always going to be a killer. Now, my original thought was to put them here, but I'm trying to avoid doing that unless I cannot find another place to do it, because I really do not want thrusters here. I'm not so worried about the combat aspect of having thrusters up front, as this isn't really that kind of ship that would be super impactful on, but it's just a cosmetic thing. I wanted to keep this big clean chunk over here without thrusters if possible, so that means I would have to put reverse thrusters elsewhere. So I'm going with pretty much the Excel thrusters on this too. One other thing that has changed on this since the last time I showed it was it did get, it's about 12 blocks longer than it was the last time I showed it. I stretched it out, kind of added a couple blocks on the end, a couple more blocks on the front of it, and then stretched out the mid-haul by about 8 blocks in there, just trying to get the proportions right. And stuff like that. So anyway, I'll shut up. I just try to explain where I'm at, and where I'm going with this, or what I'm trying to do with this. So right now I have symmetry on, and I wanted that on for a little bit here, and what to create like a frame piece that can do what I was trying to explain. And it's a bit experimental, a lot of this is, but I think I'm going to start building a piece of frame. Maybe that comes out from about here, and there's nothing on the other side to even match up with this right now, but we'll see how it all works out in the end. Or should I actually? Yeah, alright. So let's build this up here and see how this works out. So I'm going to just go with some pretty simple blocks right now. And maybe even some full blocks. But I wanted to get this to clear this section first and keep some form of unity going on there. And I probably should take it on a little bit further too. I just wanted to see what these blocks. So a lot of this isn't going to be the same on the other side there, but I wanted to get the this rear framing section symmetrical, so I can put in the thrusters symmetrically and whatnot. So here now at this point, I wanted to start angling this upward. Well, actually, let's take it a couple more blocks yet. Let's not do that wheel well quite yet. Let's go maybe another 3. How about like one more? Okay, so we'll start down the angle. Could go at a 22.5 or a 45, and I'm thinking, God, what would look better here? I'm almost thinking of 45 on this in this case. Normally I go with 22.5 if it comes down to it, but I wanted to try a 45 because I think it'll allow me to tilt this a little bit easier and better and not take up as much space as I'm doing it to make more room for the thruster housings. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of build this area out and try to get it set up so it can angle upward. And we'll put in a bunch of these first. And I do this quite often so I don't have to switch blocks constantly. I'll use one block as a kind of a spot so I can attach another block to it, then erase that first block. So let's go like that. Right now I'm just kind of doing this part out of steel. I think most of this probably should be steel. I've been the material per block is kind of gets a little perplexing sometimes too, trying to figure out exactly what block should be what material. Like I'm fluctuating between carbon and steel very frequently, and that's just one of those things. That's it's like, should this be that, or should be what's it protecting? But at the end of the day, the whole point is it should have a solid steel barrier, at least one layer thick, between the outside world and the inside of the ship at all places. Now right here, this is kind of like 2, so technically I think I'm actually, before I go too much further, I think I'm going to actually address that. If you look inside of here, you notice that, this is still a solid steel block. Well, there'll be blocks on the other side of this too, so I'm going to switch these over to carbon. I'm trying to do this as I go because doing it after the fact is even more nightmarish sometimes, I think. So I'm just trying to get some of those in, and let's put another row of this out over here. I want this big smooth shape over here again, which is kind of partially the theme of this creation. Combination of big smooth shapes and chopped up shapes, and then of course everything's going to get scarified. It kind of already is starting that way. It's not fully developed yet though. Alright, so we've got that, and now let's say from here, and that's the thing, I just soon have it come right up to the bottom of the flight deck because I don't want to waste an extra block to have it like 2 blocks high or something over here. That's just kind of becomes a waste. So let's put in another one of these guys over here, and a lot more of these angled ones. And this is just kind of like specking it out for now. So we're going to take this pretty far back on those. And that's kind of the body line I was looking at, except I think that body line should come down further. I got it starting at this point here. I think this needs to drop down a couple blocks on the bottom row yet. I think that would help it. So let's try that. Like 2 more blocks here. Get some more of these in there. Another one of these. Oops. There we go. And then this whole thing is off place now, but that's okay. Didn't really want to necessarily line it up right there. It seemed like it was a little bit too close to the inside there. Get rid of all those. And we're close. I tell you what, I'm going to go down one more here. And this whole switching material thing, pain in the butt, but I think it'll be worth it. It'll lessen the weight of the ship quite a bit, and since I want this to come down to the ground too, it's going to need obviously a good amount of lift thrusters, things like that. Now, another comment I wanted to address too was brought up by another person to, having a ship like this, and it's got room obviously for farms and stuff like that, but kind of a pain in the butt because it's hard to keep the farms operational. You got to keep the whole ship on. To do that, maybe it should have modules or something like that. Yeah, it's something I'm thinking about. Now, I was kind of like playing with the idea of a smaller module, like these built-up areas, which are just part of the ship right now. If they were dropped down below the flight deck by a block, I could technically put in some modules that aren't very big that could fit in those locations over there. The big thing is I want to make sure that the modules do not get or interfere with this big 15 block section going down the middle of the ship. That would interfere with the hangar space, and I don't want to disrupt that when building this. So if I did have a module here, it would have to be pretty close to the size that you see here, and well, probably about yay deep and about that wide too. So it'd certainly be a smaller module. And then if it's that small of a module, it really couldn't be a very large farm. I mean, it could be decent for storage or maybe some other activities, but as in a farm, it's really not going to be very much farm space if I try to go that way. So I don't know yet. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to, you know, when you first get the ship, it'll have these big holes in the side of the hull for modules too. That's kind of a cosmetic, a little bit of an eyesore, I suppose. Maybe you want to expect that there or something like that. Well, anyway, this idea is sort of working out. What I want to do now, I'm going to turn off symmetry. I just wanted to get those lines in place right now to establish a framework. Actually, I'll finish this up. There's a lot of missing blocks here. Let's get those in place. And then I'll turn off symmetry again. And then I'll have that line in place so when I get to the other side, I'll know to you know, follow that pattern basically. And this side I'll just build out as we're going here. So a lot of 45s, and I'll some of these 45s can be mixed up too. So like you see them all like being 45s right now. A lot of this will probably end up changing. I just wanted to get kind of the part of the structure in place, and then start detailing it and figuring out what I'm going to do with each little chunk area to make it look, I don't know, hopefully interesting. All right. Okay, so now this needs to somehow mount up to this area here, and this area needs to be filled in. So let's work on that. That's kind of how I've been working on it. I got all these different planned areas to address individually on the ship, but this is one I wanted to get in place to try to get the whole side profile in check, because it was missing a big chunk in the back, and I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do with it. And I also got to really think about thrusters and things like that. Just trying to put that out of mind for right now, but anyway, so over on this front side, on this side, and I'll keep symmetry on yet for just a little bit longer. And I do go a lot slower trying to explain this stuff. I usually, if I'm not talking and jabbing, I tend to go a lot faster at doing this. But it's kind of neat actually trying to say what on my mind. And oops, darn it. A lot of this block switching. I just got to remember to keep doing that. So I'm trying to bend this in, generally speaking, to this area here. So it kind of lines up, and it's going to be weird because it's going to be out over the edge of where these things are, whatever those are. That is a lot of 45s. Alright, so that's kind of, okay, so it angles that way, it goes up, and then it goes out this way. Let's make a modification here too. On the top, I think what I want to change is this row goes away. It's a little bit too far inset, I think. And this might not be great for the amount of block cost, but I think it'll look better. Let's double this up, and let's put those out at this row instead. I'll just kind of draw them out back that way a little ways for now. Something like that. So now we kind of got that double block, big smooth frame piece. And often too, when I'm painting this too, I'll set it to like its base color. I'll do this, which is fill all, and then set it to just a texture, like a smooth texture for now. So I can just kind of paint that in really quickly. So we got a new line there, and I think that'll work. And then back down over here, in this general section, and kind of that would maybe fit underneath that section is where I'm going to have to build out like a individual part sort of that fits in there. That's a big thruster pod, and hopefully provides the ship with strafing, forward thrust, another lift thruster, and again, I don't think reverse thrusters are going to work there either, which is, I don't know. I'll still have to keep my eye out for a place that can have some more reverse thrusters, definitely. So now this needs to line up to this somehow. So let's put in a couple of those and a couple of these here. Oops. See how that works out. Maybe a couple more. Keep that consistent there. I'm worried about what's above it here, though. That is a problem. Let's get those side parts in. And let's just keep that squared off right there. Okay, so now this row, so we got like a frame piece here, and this kind of extends out over the edge of the frame piece. I might have to modify some of those other blocks there to make this fit right. Let's try something. Let's go to an alternative block. How about, God, are any of these going to work? Nah, I think I'm going to have to go with this. See what happens. We could bend that up this way. Nah, don't like that either. That's going to be really weird. I'm wondering if I should just kind of build it up, have a ceiling, and have that just kind of like cut out over it. Again, it is kind of about a lot of chaos, I guess, and trying to look in the end like it was kind of backyard mechanic built, sort of. Although this is a pretty big structure for that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to like that or not. It's almost like this part here kind of sticks out a little bit much, and it's not really bolted into the top part of the ship. But maybe that's a maybe that's a thing. Maybe it'll look all right that way. All right. So in this area, I'll just put in some blocks here. Maybe try to plan out a couple more windows or something. They don't have to stay there in the end, but kind of nice to have some of that. So let's see, how much total spacing do we got? Let's fill in that one. So we have a 2x2 window, 2x2 window. Do we want a third one in here? Could. Well, we'll see how it works out. Let's just run these across the top there. So we can obviously put some glass in on that section. The only part that still bothered me is this how this is kind of hanging up above the bottom part of the ship, which actually this actually just does not need to be here anymore. I don't think it was on the other side anyway. Or this part here. Gotta watch this. So some of the hardest parts sometimes is trying to take like two parts of a creation, get them to fit together. So I'm trying to make this look like it's separated, but use as little amount of blocks and work as I can to create that illusion, I suppose. Let's just see what happens if this gets filled into a particular point here. Yeah, this inside here, that doesn't need to be that way either. And what if we just kind of cut in here and get rid of that part, so then we can see kind of up and under there like that. But now this is a mess in this corner section here. Blocks go in different directions, different ways. Yeah, I don't like this block jogging out right there. So what if we tried to put in an angle block there? Like that maybe? Or a better idea, how about one of these? like that. And I get some kind of angle there. Still a little really screwy in this section, but you know, with the overall decor of the ship, that might look appropriate. Alright, so this is coming down. The landing gear come out to where the bottom of this ramp door is, so it's also going to need a landing gear back here somewhere, but I'm not sure where I'm going to put those yet. Could kind of come out from this section, and oh, that'd be neat. That would be kind of neat if this got bent out a little bit over here, and since it's kind of symmetrical on both sides, it would keep the landing gear in check and kind of put it at relatively this position of the ship, which might look a little bit better than putting it way in the back, maybe. And then this can kind of hang up over the back. Yeah, let's try this. Let's try this. So, landing gear. Let me just get some landing gear parts here. I thought I had those already equipped, but I guess I don't. So, landing gear. Alright. But first we got to build out something. Okay, so let's, we're going down at a 45 here. What if we, in the center points, and we can center this pretty nicely, I think, on this. So let's say we started about, yeah, I might screw up that window, but oh well. Say we started here, and we ran a different angle that comes down. Well, probably this would have to be a full block, I think. There and there. I'm trying to keep it kind of symmetrical on the front and back. This is a pretty big landing gear section, but I kind of like the idea of it looking pretty big. It's a big ship. It's a lot of weight. I think you'd want a pretty beefy landing gear setup here. Whoops. Alright, there we go. It's going to probably look pretty generic for a bit until we figure out exactly where the blocks are going. Okay, so say that comes out here, and on the front landing gear, I did them a little bit weird. I put them sideways. I used these 2x2 ones, and I rotated them this way to keep the clearance around the thrusters. And I might try that same thing. Actually, this would be kind of a neat place to potentially dump in some down thrust, or some lift thrust, I mean. Let's get rid of that, and I think that should be the right height for the landing gear. Okay, so we want to kind of curve this out, and actually, you know what? I think they're a little too far out. So let's just kind of build up that part on either side, more towards the center. Get in these blocks. Let's get another set of landing gear here. Okay. And I think I'm gonna run out of blocks again. Yeah, I've been doing about 1,000 blocks a day. Yeah, it's the average. It's hard to steal. So yeah, been a lot of blocks, a lot of block placing. I'm enjoying this. So I do like building the hull. It's probably the best of everything. I mean, I'll be real happy once it's all textured and everything too. But doing all this block work, this is usually quite a bit of fun and one of my more favorite things to do for sure. All right, so on the front here, what can we do with like blocks to curve that in a little bit? Not this one, unless we use it like that. Could be interesting. And then maybe like one like that on the back. Oh, you know what though? We're going to want some blocks over the edges of this too. Yeah. So these are going to have to go. Let's get rid of that. Just temporarily put in some full blocks here too. I'm gonna be getting rid of some of these full blocks in the end here, but. And then let's do thin. There's wedges like that in these places. Oops. And God, what do we put on the bottom? How about the one with the lip on it. Something like that. I don't know if that's going to work out for angling things, though. We'll see. Anyway, we'll get rid of that one. Let's go to carbon and put something like that there on the front and the back again. And yeah, there is going to be no block there. So here, we're going to get rid of those. And what else can we use there? How about some of these designer blocks here? I could try a couple in that formation. That could be kind of neat. Look like maybe some kind of structural parts to the landing gear, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe, or how about if they were flipped? Oops. Like that. Then you can see that extra little line thing on the bottom. I think that could be kind of neat. Alright. Now how to build up the front around the landing gear. Try to go simple at first and see if something presents itself here. And what do I do in between the two? Is another thing. I haven't kind of filled. I thought about like rounding it off on the other side too, but I kind of wanted this to look like one big unit as opposed to separated into two smaller units in the end. Not sure how that's going to work out yet, but you know, a lot of trial and error in these builds. Trying to get it to kind of curve in a little bit so it looks, not that this thing's very aerodynamic, but I'm just trying to get it to look a little bit aerodynamic at least. But I don't really want to go out another full block space here, so let's switch back over to carbon. This really isn't protecting anything either, and this is where I have a lot of debates what blocks to use, because it's like landing gear. It's not really you know, providing any protection to anything. Could go like that or this. So how's that gonna work out? It is possible too that this whole piece maybe should be moved further back in the ship a little bit. That is another possibility. I do a lot of that stuff too with building these things, so I might just copy and paste that if I keep on thinking the same thing. And we could get in some pipes going here. Could probably put a pipe there that runs into this location, and it looks like we're coming up into potential interior space here. So I'll use the what I wouldn't think should be a more expensive pipe, but it actually is. This one here is not good for size class, but it'll allow to have the pipe on the bottom side and a solid floor on the inside, which would free up a little bit more interior space. Potential interior space. Don't know if it's going to all be used, but that's kind of the thing. So we had that on this side, and let's put in a regular pipe here, and then block like that to connect it. Okay, so then we establish some landing gear. Now, I wanted to kind of make this join together, but I didn't really want to add in, I don't know. We could actually have a third set of landing gear in the middle too, and then the block work kind of connects it all together. Possibility. But what if we ran like 2 there, 2 here, and then maybe how about we bend it up a little bit? This might be the best block for that. So something like that. And then we have another set of landing gear here. that. That'd be a weird landing gear setup. But yeah, I think all in all, I think the issue I've got now is this whole thing. If this was pushed back about, I don't know, maybe if this whole thing started about at the edge of this piece, it would look better than it does now. What's going on the other side over here? So yeah, not so worried about the other side. I just kind of wanted to get the positioning right. And this is, yeah, I think that would help. So let's try this. Let's try to push this back. So I'm going to get out of here, go to selection. Let me select nothing. And then copy and paste a bunch of this. Probably have to go right across the ship this time. Well, maybe not. No, I'll try to do it individually if needed. Including the frame. Yeah, I wanted to, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to copy a lot of that frame. Might have to do a separate. Let's take it to this point. And a little bit further out. And is it feasible to copy this all at once, or should I do two separate copies? Nah, we'll try it all at once. Again, the other side I'm not so worried about. I'm going to have to address that when I get to it. And it's, yeah, it's going to be totally different than the other side. pretty much, except for a couple features. Okay, so now this does kind of dig up into this area, which I'll have to remove some blocks, but this is getting the bulk of it for now, at least. You know what? It can get a little bit more though. Save a little bit more time if I go up 2 more blocks in height to here, and then that will reset that beam without having to do more blocks to it. Okay. And are we cool on this side? Yeah, I'm not interested in copying these outer pieces. You know, they'll get copied a little bit anyway. Okay, so we're gonna do a, in this case, yeah, we're gonna do a copy paste and not a cut paste. So I want to keep some of the block work intact at the front. So we're gonna take this and slide this back. God, how many blocks was that? About like, yeah. I don't know exactly where I'm at though. Hard to see. Kind of looks like I don't know. Let's try it here. If that doesn't work out, I can undo it. So how's the alignment? It's basically kind of looking at this seam line here. And what does that look like for the stance too? I kind of like that better. It looks like it's a little bit, it's more centered around kind of where the perspective control tower is going to be. And this whole area, by the way, is going to change a whole lot too. This was kind of like trying to look like a more modern aircraft carrier kind of assembly, and I'm going to change this up so it's kind of more chaotic. There's more buildings and structures over here, a little bit more misarranged, and a little more like city-like, I suppose. I don't know. I say city-like. That's probably not a good word to use for that, but anyway, so that has been copied and pasted to this section. Let me just make sure it's really there. I'll paste it. And let's remove this. So yeah, complete chaos over on this side until that gets done up. But this side is the one I'm worried about now. So I'll keep symmetry off for now again, and get rid of all this stuff up here, the second layer of the same thing, and then try to have to blend it back in again. But I just think, yeah, if you spend the time now, you know, when you're trying to get this part done, you'll be a lot happier with the creation later. If you got some big problems with its shape and things, it's, you know, the further you get in the build, the harder it is to correct those things. Yeah, this actually, I think, will work out pretty good overall. Might even help a little bit with this seam here, and I can get rid of that. Keep that pretty much square. Okay, this part here, this is kind of messed up too. So we want that out of, well, I guess I'm kind of back in that same boat there. Okay, so now we need something else going on in the middle here. Just even. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, this is odd shapes. Well, it's even shapes, so it's a 4-block width between the two. And like everything else, that should be a feature. So what can go in here? Let's want to take this row out a little bit more here then. Let's replace these blocks with this. So it's a kind of a half block, or sticking out a half block more at least. Or should it be? Or should that just align to the other side like it is? That's probably the better case. Let's go back to this. And yeah, we got a little bit of a lip there anyway. And then we can probably just put in a couple full blocks here. Alright, and then okay, so now how's that gonna line up here? Kind of to this point. So something like that. And that kind of lines up to that section. But it's not quite right. There is a line here. Oh, I guess that works out. Sort of. Maybe here should be, yeah, one of these. That kind of messes up with the center point, which is actually a good thing. So then I can get my, I like to have odd number center points. I just do. It's usually, I mean, in some cases no, but I do like to strive for that if possible. Then you can center one block item easily in the middle, or a couple 2-block items. I wonder. Okay, so this is going to be kind of a decorative thing again in this area, just trying to make the hall look all weird and stuff. But there is a deco part that I'm wondering if could be placed and look good here. Get my deco pieces, and that is, I like these things, but they're kind of hard to fit in a lot of times. So let's say we had something like that. Okay, we need so we had one there and one there, and then we'll need a backing wall here. Something going across the top area at least. Yeah, it could be kind of neat. Alright, so over here, got some more weird seams. Let's try something like that. Get rid of that as well. And let's keep that formation going the same across that whole area. Yeah, that's kind of like lining up pretty good, kind of fitting in there. Wasn't really looking to put windows here or anything, but what else could be put here? Try some other kind of designer blocks. That's my nickname for these kind of things here, the designer blocks. Just sort of made that one up, but yeah. A couple of those. And then let's modify the blocks below it on the center. And let's put in some of these alternative ones with the lips on them. And then some filler trim. Like that. Okay, speaking of filler trim, I want another row. I don't know if I was going to have all these windows here or not. It's just an idea, but I think it would be kind of neat if it had a little surface detail on this section here. So, how about some thin blocks? Skaar is kind of fun with surface detail. They're fairly easy because they have a lot of the parts available. Work pretty good with them. We could do like some of that, and oh yeah, well, that's just too many windows, I think. Or maybe it should. I don't know. I wanted to try to see if I could get some of these in there, but I don't know if that's going to work out very good. Yeah, I don't like how these don't line up to the edges. If there were windows there. Again, I don't know if that's a good spot for windows. I don't think it would be, because if this goes the way I think it might go, this would probably be a lot of production area over here. But you know what? In the end of the day, yeah, you know, just hypothetically here, this does line up to where the hangar floor is. But I don't know. Windows are optional, but we'll just kind of leave it like that for the time being. And let's get something across the top here. I wonder if rather than going with those blocks, we use this and angle these up like that. I don't like the fact that they kind of have a break in them. And then I don't know. Let's put something else over here. Maybe like something like that. And how about one of these things? Not exactly. Okay, and then from there, try to put in these over the window edges, maybe? So then that kind of lines up to here. Oops. Almost. I don't like this though. It's just not doing it. Oh, gosh darn it. I have it's pretty sensitive. I tend to misplace blocks a fair amount. Alright. Well, I don't know about that little thing there. Here's an idea. What if we went to a thin row and added it right above it? So we had something like that, and we could have a uniform line that goes straight across here and then curves back in on this part there. And yeah, the other thing was on the landing gear here too. Let's get those back out. I still have them. Oh yeah, there they are. And oh, I lost the landing gear here too. And here, not sure where they went. Probably that copy paste stuff. Ah, there we go. And this would need trim over the. Did I build these out of steel? Yes. Sometimes I question, you know, is it like really, should I be using steel here, or should I just have this area carbon? We did that, essentially. I don't know if I'm going to like that anymore, but we'll see. Okay, that was these. So now, let's see if we can add in a little something something. I don't mind with humans too. With building the ship differently. With humans, I try not to have exposed pipes on the exteriors. At least now. I mean, I used to, but I thought about it and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense for especially a military craft. Now, if it was a freighter or something, yes, that's cool. But military stuff, you wouldn't really have, some kind of piping or anything out on the just exposed on the outside of the ship, typically speaking. Um, so that was kind of one of the design things. If I was going to use pipes on this, I kind of wanted it to be Skaar and not humans. Um, and I think that just it makes sense to me. It's just one of those things. I don't know if I should go with that there. Just playing with different ideas here. Kind of wondering how it would look if it went into a curved pipe on the inside. Again, it's a little bit more detailed than, of course, a square block. And then if it did that there, it probably should do it on these other locations as well. The only problem is if this is a legit window that you can walk up to, that's going to be a problem right there. Unless the window was back a little bit. I don't know. I'll keep it for now, and we'll. I'm not even so sure those are going to be windows, so I'm trying to like if it works for the interior later and somehow looks all right, then I wouldn't mind that those are windows. But for the most part, I don't necessarily think it needs 3 windows back here. And you could put anything back here really, and it would probably look all right. Some kind of other detail block or something. But that would establish the rear landing gear. Let me just put in one more block here. Of course, I'm going to have to go over the other side just the same. And that's why a build like this is going to take longer than the average build, because there's so much things not done in symmetry. It's kind of like you're building 2 halls. Well, we'll say 1.5 halls at least separately. All right, one last thing I wanted to do, and this is going to be the last part, I think, on this video at least. I just wanted to, I'll turn on symmetry again, and I wanted to try to get this dialed into the rear parts of the flight deck. I know it's not going to line up the same on either side, and it'll have to be custom tweaked on the other side especially, but kind of wanted to get this up to a point where this whole thing completes. Now on this end part, I think let's change it up. I know I did a 20 or 45 degree angle there. On this part, I kind of want to switch it out and do a 22.5. See how that looks. So something like that. And I'll just keep that gap there between that and the flight deck for now. Put in some of these. And then, essentially speaking, it'll be another part entirely, but there'll be like a big thruster pod type enclosure in here that hopefully kind of conforms to this body line. Provides the forward thrust and hopefully some strafing thrust and hopefully some lift thrust as well. And then I'll only have to deal with reverse thrusters, which I do technically have a location to put those. I just don't want to unless I can't come up with another solution, basically. Yeah, I think let's do this mass fill in here again, and then you can see more parts of the ship kind of got worked out here. And that is kind of how this whole thing's been being built. Oh, I got other problems though too. This isn't lined up right. over here. That's gotta change the block work here. One sec, let's get that done too. There's unneeded blocks on the inside here, a whole bunch of them. Usually at the end too, I'll have to go through and clean up the from the inside, get rid of all the unneeded blocks that are just were used in building it, and try to clean that up. And okay, so this is wrong, and that would be wrong, and all these would be wrong actually. So that would be thin block here. Just trying to put that formation back together. Thin block here, half block here. Let's get rid of the insides. Here and here, and yeah, obviously just kind of reset that whole area there. But I think it's actually going to stop right there too. So this part's going to be gone. So there. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this works out. And I keep on debating too if maybe this would look better at a 22.5 than the 45 that I've got there too. I was looking at trying to match it up to the 45 that's here, and then on the back. And also this angle would provide more room for thrusters. So right now I'm going to keep it, and I'll build the thrusters out and see how it all looks and works. It would be more efficient this way, but again, I'm not 100% sure if I like that. Or maybe this line will not go up as high, and the thrusters will hang down a little bit lower. I don't know. I'll have to. That's a lot of planning there. I got to figure that one out. But anyway, that's all I've got for today's video. I'm going to try to do more of these if you want to see them, of me just kind of working on, like I'm building it for real, you know, like going everything that goes through my head, all the different things I'm thinking about. I mean, there's other aspects I'm thinking about that I haven't really been addressing because I'm only working on the hull right now, and that is like the interior stuff. You know, am I going to have a way up to the landing deck? And in comments, there was a very, at first I was questioning whether there was any reason to have a ramp in the hangar go up to the flight deck. And someone brought up a very good point, and especially if you have the repair bay up there, which you'd probably want to repair. Oh, wait a minute. It can't repair CVs, can it? Oh. CV should be able to repair a CV, darn it. But, yeah. I don't know. I guess there's more room up there, and obviously you could land, I guess, SVs and stuff up there to repair, but you could fly those in the hangar too. And I was just thinking, yeah, I'd want the repair bay on the upper deck or on the flight deck so it could repair CVs. Then it just occurred to me that, well, it can't. You can't repair CVs from another CV, so it's kind of like it doesn't work out either. And that was kind of the argument of the comment there too. So you could bring the stuff up there, so you could have the repair bay on the flight deck, which is probably a little bit more convenient. And then you could repair that stuff. But man, since you can't repair CVs from a CV, I don't really know if there's much benefit there, because all the stuff that you could repair, like SVs or HVs, or the only things you can repair, you could also fly into the hangar, and it's a really big hangar. And I don't think you would have too much problems fitting any SV or HV. Well, I mean, there's some, of course, that are gargantuan, but that probably wouldn't work. But most should, for sure. So I don't know. I'll think about it. But basically, it comes to the debate of whether to have like some kind of ramp structure from the hangar that goes up to the flight deck. I think, for the sake of coolness factor, I think it's really cool. But I also realize that no matter what I do, and I'd probably want to use those big fancy new ramps to do it, it's going to take up a lot of space. It could interfere also with the, well, maybe not, but hopefully not. But I didn't want to disrupt the main flow of the hangar. I wanted to make sure that these lines here that go right to the front hangar door stay unobstructed from the sides, so there's not things protruding into them or stuff. But I will play around with it. I think it would be a neat feature if I could keep it discreet using ramps, so you could say if it's on, then it's blocking part of the hanger, but when it's off, it removes itself from that area. It doesn't disrupt flow going through it. That could be pretty plausible. I would certainly like to check into that aspect. And again, on modules too, maybe if I did, it might have a couple in this location. I would just have to modify the block work, maybe drop these down a block so the flight deck sits over the top of it, and then these would be detachable, smaller modules, not Helios modules, something a lot smaller that would plug into there. The only thing is, especially for the for a farm, it wouldn't be big enough to really hold much of a farm. It would be just kind of a dinky, weird little farm, and I don't even think it would be very justifiable to bother with those modules for something that small. And that's I don't know. There's every build. There's a lot of things you got to just figure out and kind of work through. And I appreciate all the recommendations and ideas and stuff from other people too, because I do explore a lot of those. I do implement quite a few of those too, especially if, if I agree and I think it's a really good idea or something to consider. Or like the same thing here with the repair bay and the flight deck. I was thinking, no, I didn't want it. And I was trying to, if CVs could repair other CVs, I would absolutely want that. Absolutely want that, because I would want to put the repair bay on top here so it could fix other CVs as it's going, and and then you could bring your HVs up from the hangar up to the flight deck. You could repair those as well. SVs, no problem anywhere they're at. But since they can't repair other CVs, I'm kind of back to that square one. I don't really see, besides a coolness factor, I don't really see a good reason for it. Again, but that's just me. That's just kind of my way of thinking. So I'll think about it. But anyway, y'all have yourself a good day. I'm going to try to have more of these videos out, at least. But the format I'm going to try, at least while building this creation, which is going to take a while to build, is I'm going to try to do like just a general update video, or at least at the beginning of the video, so you can see any of the changes that were done, and then continue on with the video and build out different parts of it at different times. And there's a lot of different parts to build out. On the next video, I was actually thinking about messing with this area over here and trying to come up with this more chaotic approach to like a controlled tower, like buildings and stuff, craziness over there. It's Skaar. It's trying to look like it's at the end of the day going to be welded together. Also, one last aspect too, when I do go through and start the texturing, which I'm going to be dreading, it's going to take a long time on this one. I'm going to probably go through and add in some damage blocks occasionally too, just to rough it up a little bit more in places and stuff like that. But I don't know. Anyway, that's all I've got for today, and you guys have yourself a great day. I'll talk to you later.